Just imagine risking your life to come here in the UK. You come here from a shithole country in Africa, using a dinghy, risking your life in the sea, to end up spending the rest of your life in jail for taking someone else's life. Unless you aren't risking anything. And this is the story of Deng Chol Majek. He comes from Sudan, a shithole country in East Africa. He came to the UK illegally and stayed at a migrant hotel, paid in full by the taxpayer. On the night of the 20th of October 2024, Deng, the Nog, took the life of Rhiannon White. She was one of the workers at the hotel he was staying at. The hotel is called Walsall Park in Radisson Hotel. And what happened is he wanted more food, more biscuits, and she refused to allow him to have more biscuits. So at the end of her shift, she left the hotel to go to the train station. And this demon followed her with a screwdriver in his hand. And then he cornered her and stabbed her 23 times. And she died moments later at the hospital. And till this day, this Nog is denying that it was him who committed the crime, like a typical Nog. But I will get back to that in a minute. Some people may actually think he threw his life away. Why murdering a woman, risking your life to come here, and then throwing your life away by taking the life of this young mother, this young white woman? But when you think about it, he came here with zero prospect. He has no job. He has no qualifications. He comes from an impoverished country. Living in the UK is winning the lottery for this guy. Let's say you come from an impoverished country. You are a man who abandoned your country to live under the tutelage of a white man. What's the next step after living for free in a hotel that maybe you will have to leave at some point? Is to make sure that you keep this lifestyle forever. And what is the best way to keep this lifestyle forever? By murdering someone. In prison, he has free meals. Sorry for the background noise because I'm, near the window. He has free healthcare, the free activities, just like in his migrant hotel. He has all this free stuff paid for by Rhiannon White's family, the women he murdered. So this guy will be taken care of by the taxpayers for 29 years. For him, it's like securing a job. He doesn't have to worry about paying rent, paying bills. He doesn't have to worry about none of that. Rhiannon White lost her life over nothing. She refused to give this skeleton psychopath a couple of biscuits, and it was a death sentence for her. Does that ring a bell? Having your life taken from you over petty things? Nogs are the same globally. They are the same everywhere you go. Africa, America, Europe, they are the same. They have no problem taking a woman's life over nothing because you don't want to give him your number, because you refuse to play a video game with him, because you won at the basketball game, because you put too much mayonnaise in his sandwich, because you gave him a child. There's always a reason for him to get angry and take your life. Black men have this entitlement when it comes to women. They think that women belongs to them regardless of race. And they have no problem taking women's life. But according to mummies, these Nogs' lives matter. And just to tell you how sociopathic this Deng Nog is, after stabbing Rhiannon White 23 times with a screwdriver, he went back to his government-funded migrant hotel, dancing in a hallway. He has zero remorse. He's still denying that he murdered her because he doesn't care. I'm sure that the fund he was using to listen to the music was paid by the taxpayer. In this attack, you have to take into consideration that Deng is a Muslim. He is a black Muslim. He has the worst of both worlds. The worst of the black culture and the worst of Islam put into one skeleton demon. In his culture, non-Muslims are seen as animals, slaves, inferior to him as a Muslim. And for him, this white Christian woman was literally a sitting duck in this migrant hotel. This was a crime waiting to happen. She was a Christian white woman in this hotel full of migrants, of men who come from cultures where women's right is an oxymoron. Those cultures, black Muslims, it's not only the men who are misogynistic, the women are too. Some women are even worse than the men. Can you imagine for a second? You are a woman. For 9 months, you kept this nog in your belly. For 9 months. You had 9 months to try and create a relationship with your child as a mother, as a woman. Then when your child is born, you spend time with your child during the most important years of his life, the formative years of his life. As a mother, as a woman, you can actually introduce him to how to treat women, how you want to be treated as a woman. You want your son to be an asset to women, not a threat. You know the fear, the vulnerability that we women have. So as a woman, you can actually teach your child, teach your son to see women as human beings because this is what you are. And what do we see here is a fucking nog who didn't feel a thing about taking this woman's life. When I see nogs, I have to remind myself that these nogs were raised by women, by black women. They were not raised by beasts, although, you would actually think that. They were raised by women who failed at a basic job. You are a woman, so you know exactly the fear. You know that men are women's apex predators. So your job is to make sure that your son is not going to be a threat to you or to fellow women. And how many of us were terrorized by nogs like Deng and others, by the sons of women who failed at such a basic, primal, primitive job, which is raising your son into making sure that you're not birthing your own killer or another woman's killer. Basic, primitive, primal job that so many women fail at it, as if it was a PhD or something. Anyways, let's carry on because we don't have time for this. And also, we have to talk about the sexual aspect of the attack. Remember, these men, they came here with no wives. They have no wives with them. They are incels by default. Why? Because they have nothing. In this economy, no women will waste their time with some nog or some migrant in a government-funded hotel. Let's say you're desperate and you accept to go on a date with one of them. You know that the date is funded by your taxes. If you don't have any money in this economy, you're done as a man. So these people are incels. No women want them. And in their culture, women are toys, sexual toys to be used. This guy, more than likely, hasn't had sex since back in Sudan. So Rhiannon, not only she is a victim of femicide at the hands of a black Muslim, she's also a victim of sexual violence. The knife symbolizes the penis. He sexually assaulted Rhiannon. He had empty belly because she refused to give him biscuits, but he had full balls. And he decided to throw his frustration, his sexual frustration, onto Rhiannon. Another thing I want to touch is the current Western justice system. I'm sorry, but if as a government you allow the invasion of your country by third worlders, you will have to update your justice system to keep up. Because one of the main issues with multiculturalism is the diversity of crime. And especially the violence against women. Because again, in their culture, women are not seen as human. When you are illegal migrant, you should not commit crime in your host country. In a country that no one wanted you in the first place. Nobody wants this ding dang dong in this country. The guy looks like he died 50 years ago. He looks like a fucking skeleton. He looks diabolical. And I'm going to finish by saying 2 things. Are you ready for the rant? I hate being in the race of these people. I hate it. I hate going through the news and seeing the same faces over and over and over and over again. The same nogs committing violent crime. And, for a long time, I said that black people, and I understand that our lives means nothing in Blackistan. I understand that the life of a black woman doesn't mean anything in this community. They have shown it with their complete disregard of black femicide. Black women has been the most unalived, the most murdered women in London for 4 consecutive years. I mean, you don't hear any black talking about it. Anything that makes black men look bad, black people are not interested. But the problem is, these nugs are bored with us. You know, when you can do whatever you want to someone, the thrill is not there anymore. You don't have any thrill. You know, when you know that you can rape, you can murder, you can stab, you can set on fire, you can do whatever you want. The members of your cult will always cover for you. The thrill is not there. And you want more adrenaline. You want more. You want to feel more. And nugs don't feel anything anymore with black women. So now they're going to the forbidden fruit, white women. So much for this nonsense, this BLM, Pookie Lives Matter nonsense. When now we realize who is actually the real victimizers, who are actually the real martyrs. It's not nugs. Nugs are not the real martyrs. It's the women who are unfortunate to just live their lives around them. When the so-called black community allowed nugs to terrorize black women, they didn't think about the fact that he would get bored and terrorize white women, which they are doing now, more and more. Nugs like Deng bring absolutely nothing to any country they curse with their presence. So you have some mummies and nugs in Sudan breeding, and 20 plus years later, their gremlin becomes a menace to women in the West. Does that make sense to you? Mummies have done absolutely everything in their power to make black men the face of vulnerability in Blackistan. Black men is the face of the damsel in distress. They are the face of women and children. They are seen by the majority in the black community as the most oppressed members of this race. Now, nugs like Ding Deng Dong has exposed that black people were lying all along. The so-called martyrs of white supremacy, the so-called most oppressed men in society, the damsel in distress of the black community, is now victimizing what white people consider to be the most vulnerable in their community, white women. So black people have done two things at once. They've exposed their own oppression. When you have the highest rate of femicide, but you complain about oppression, and you cover up the oppression of black women in your community because it makes black men look bad, you are exposing that you don't give a fuck about oppression when you are the one doing it. And the second thing that you are exposing is that your culture is incompatible with the Western culture. Because if in your culture men are oppressed and women and children are not even seen as vulnerable, you have a survival of the fittest mentality, you are showing that your culture is incompatible with the Western culture. Because in the Western culture, women and kids are seen as deserving of protection. In Blackistan, no, the most vulnerable are black men. The very men that stab white women in the train, who punch them in the face. When somebody who looked like Deng, a stabber of a young mother, is seen as deserving of a civil rights movement, there is something deeply, deeply wrong with your culture. And there is something deeply wrong with the black culture. My mental health is in the gutter, is in hell actually. Because I cannot accept the fact that I find it very difficult to live my life with all those crimes committed by nugs. It affects me very deeply. I feel guilt. You know, like you hear a lot about white guilt, and I have black guilt because women of my race campaigned for these degenerates very effectively, actually. They campaigned for them, saying that their lives matter and they have mental health, when they knew that these men were committing violent, degenerate, sadistic crimes, primarily against black women, and they knew, and they didn't care. And now our faces, my face, is attached to a group of men I never wanted to be associated with in the first place. This level of sadism from mummies is just unbelievable. It's unbearable. I hate being in the race of these nugs. We have nothing in common. I have nothing in common with a Denk. Even physically, I have nothing in common with him. It doesn't matter because I'm black. And there's nothing I can do about it. I cannot run away from this. I cannot run away from nugs and their crimes and the mummies and the Blackistani culture, and I cannot run away from it. And it affects me. And mummies never talk about it because they don't care about the mental health of people who feel depressed because they are associated with nugs, because in their mind, that's the struggle. We should be proud to be associated with this worthless trash they birth. It just enrages me. They are sociopathic, they are sadistic, worthless. They bring nothing to any community, country, system. They curse with their presence. You can be a black woman, you live a law-abiding citizen life. It doesn't matter. Because you're black like Denk, ding dang dong, you're black like him. You're not Muslim, doesn't matter, you're black like him. And it's funny how black Muslims, they have this complex of superiority towards other blacks. They act like they're so much better, that their religion makes them better. But when these people commit violent crimes, they don't mind being black. They don't mind dumping their criminal reputation onto the black identity. They don't mind because they would rather protect the Arabs brothers and Islam. So when they are violent, they don't mind being associated with us. I don't want to be associated with black Muslims. We have nothing in common. I just want black Muslim men to start wearing a hijab like your female counterparts, so that your Muslimness, your superiority can stand out from a distance. Because I want basically for every single black Muslims to be seen like Somalis are seen by the average person. They're not really seen, Somali are not seen as black, but they're seen as Somali or as Muslims. And this is what I want for black Muslims in general. I want you to be seen as a Muslim or your nationality and not seen as a black person. Because we have a lot to deal with already as black people. We don't need to deal with your violent, savage crime like this ding dang dong. We don't need that. I have to deal with the crime committed by the savage gremlins that Christian black women are unleashing onto society. We don't need more bullshit, basically. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for listening to the video and see you soon.